welcome everyone to episode 49 of the Brandon Adams podcast. I have with me my good friend, Patrik Antonius. Patrik, how's it going?
Hi, everyone. And yeah, it's going well. I'm in Cyprus right now, looking to play some high stakes poker here.
I don't think you'll be disappointed. I expect it will be quite a lot of poker violence there.
Yeah, poker is back. All the high rollers and cash games. It's really nice. I'm really enjoying the time now after all this long break with the pandemic. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy as long as I can play a lot of poker.
So you say poker is back, but I wanted to start off with your online ascendancy. Poker is back, but poker will never be as big as it was from 2004 to 2008. I was just, as a reference point, looking at the inflation stats. It's officially in US dollars, a dollar now is maybe worth 50%, 35 to 50% less than a dollar, say, in 2004. And back then you were playing some very big pots. You were one of the biggest winners in the history of online poker, certainly top three. Maybe you could refine that estimate a little bit. You won, I believe, the biggest pot in the history of online poker, $1.3 million. I don't know if that record stands. You played on all of the major sites from a very young age. You played all of the games, specializing in big bet. You won a hell of a lot of money on full tilt, playing under a few well-known names. I can remember Crimea River, Find a Grind, Luigi, and then ultimately Patrik Antonius. Could you take us back to those years?
Yeah, I mean, those were the years that I was on fire. I played more than anyone, probably. I mean, I really played poker from 2000 to 2006, 5. I probably averaged 12 hours a day for 5-6 years. I played so much poker, and I played the highest games against the best players. And yeah, I was improving very quickly. And I went there where it was the biggest games. Like online, I changed the game based on where was the most money, like limit hold'em, PLO, no limit hold'em, mixed games, all kind of games. And it was really fun times. Like, was no computer programs helping anyone, and it was just your natural poker mind against another person's poker minds. And also, like, it was interesting that nobody could analyze and tell that who are the best players. Like, you need to play a long time and see who's winning. And and then you gotta figure it out how you winning or losing. So you can have a long good run sometimes, and even if you're getting outplayed and so on. But I enjoy the part that there was a lot of players really willing to gamble a lot, and those games were really, really fun games. And I would say that nowadays players, they're more calculative of their game selection. And but anyways, I mean, poker, there's great games everywhere. I mean, there's more players now than ever. Poker is bigger now than ever. But what you just said, like those particular cash games that I was going on everyday base online, they don't exist anymore. But there's some pretty good live games still now that are massive stakes. So I'm always I can just add, like, I'm a big advocate for poker. I think we're talking about a game that is really under prep, like under undervalued what it can offer for an individual. It just has so many different aspects of, you know, everyone is a different player. It has all the human it just has everything. I mean, it has, you gotta apply a strategy that is based on a lot of information. There's so much hidden information. You gotta adjust very quickly in very real time, which is the most difficult things for people to, you know, there's new situation and you gotta figure out very fast what you're gonna do. And you're gonna compete. The people who haven't really compete, like in sports or anything, suddenly they're competing. So you learn how to win and lose and how to handle yourself. We're dealing with other human beings, so there's a lot of emotions already when we are dealing with each other, when we are competing. And now there comes some money into play as a factor. It just has a really everything to offer to improve yourself as an individual. You might learn a lot of new things about yourself, and it's a never-ending ending journey. Like, nobody's a perfect player. This game is not meant to be played perfectly. Like, it doesn't exist. But yeah, it's a game that you know, I would say most of the people have a wrong image that it's a lot of gamble and all this stuff, but it's really, I believe that we're gonna grow and eventually we're gonna become a mainstream game. That's my point of view, because I think we have the greatest game that exists, which is a card game, and brings how many players we bring together to make these massive events. And it's a great entertaining game. Like, we need to be on TV watching them is one of my favorite things to watch when it's really entertaining. So so that's about it. I'm done with that, but I believe that poker is gonna really go to another level from here.
One of the most underrated parts about poker is that you get to meet so many fascinating people, right? In the course of a tournament, you're sitting with 8 other people. Granted, the personalities were a little more flavorful a decade ago, but just the hundreds, thousands of people that you meet over the course of a poker career, fascinating people, it makes it a very, very unique game. So diving in a bit to your online history, I remember once you told me that one of your favorite things was to have a hotel room where nothing is going on and just log in and play a huge amount of poker, where your life is quite simple. Take us through a perfect day of online poker circa 2006.
Well, I would just say my average day, like 2001 to 2006 or 7, or any of these, I would say 2001 to 2009. Online poker was dominating then. It was really, I played much more online than live because the games were such an easy games to access, big games. So I would wake up, have breakfast, and then I wasn't ready to go do training. I do sports every day. So I would take 2-3 hours and I would log in online and play a couple hours. And there was always some game that you would find high stakes. And hopefully I was not losing, because it sucks to go to the gym or play tennis or whatever you go to do if you stack a big number. So, but usually I played a couple hours and then I did my training, came back, ate, played a bit more, took maybe a break, whatever, did something and played, most likely till I was tired and went to sleep. Like, that was my average day on those days. And yeah, that's, you know, that's what I enjoyed to do. It's I believe that all the best players, they really have to love the game. I don't think you can. It's very difficult to take your game to a very high level if you don't love the game, because just the way the brain works as a motivation is a big factor in everything what you love. But yeah, those were the games. I mean, it's just any day that's you never knew when you were gonna win $1 million or lose $1 million in one day online. 2007, 8, 9, those days, and even earlier, like 2006, we had some pretty big games there, like hundreds of thousands, sometimes swinging in other sites.
So you admit to being a perfectionist. You might be the only golfer that is slower than myself. And you don't play poker unless things are setting up just right, unless you feel like you are about to play your A game. That is, of course, a highly rational thing to do, but not every poker player approaches it that way. Can you explain some of your secrets of readiness and what it's like to sort of be about to play and realize that for whatever reason you're not going to be playing your A game and therefore decide not to play?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been very tuned with my body, and I don't know, sometimes you don't feel right. I don't like to play in the morning. I think it's the brain is not ready to kind of compete right away, and I'm not a morning person. I take a long time to kind of get myself going fully. So I prefer to play after training, doing some sports. You get a lot of oxygen in your brain, blood in the muscles. I think that's the most optimal state to play poker, at least for me, because you're feeling great after you just did some training. And yeah, that's one of the biggest, one of the most important skills in poker is that if you play cash games, that you can decide when to play, you can decide when to quit. So if you pick any other sport, like I'm considering a poker a sport here, you gotta play when it's your match, and you have to play if you don't feel good or if you feel good. But in cash games, you can choose when you wanna call it a day, and those things make a massive difference. Like there's a lot of players that everything is going well when they're feeling good, and then they have one bad shitty day and they lose all the profits, but there's so many factors that goes to a poker player's life. I mean, there's tons of big talents out there. There's a lot of good players, and unfortunately, a lot of players, they have a lot of leaks outside of poker, which is influencing how they're playing. And yeah, you kind of need to be in the present moment when you play. If you're thinking anything else, you're missing out. You gotta just zone in and play, focus on the hand. Like it can be very meditative sometimes to play poker, and it's not for everyone. It's not poker is definitely not for everyone. Regarding golf, I was really slow in the first year. I mean, I played with you when I just started to play. Like I just started to play. So the first year, I had to check on a lot of things, a grip, how far am I from the ball and stuff. Nowadays, I'm pretty fast, I think, with golf, but I don't really play. I played twice in the last 2 years. But yeah.
So I do have, conveniently enough, next in line, I wanted to tell some interesting golf stories, but you have to tell me the secret of your fast improvement, because we did a prop bet, I think in 2008, where we had originally the bet was we were going to do 100K tennis, 100K golf, and we set it for 7 months in advance. And my thinking was that you were dead in the golf, and your thinking was that I was dead in the tennis. So we were willing to do it, and we could whatever improve. And then as it happened, the result was sort of a push because you got injured in the tennis, but you still probably would have beat me, and we agreed to do poker. Instead, I won the poker, and then you won the golf with, I recall, an 80 from the tips at TPC Summerlin. And I had something that was pretty good, like almost good enough to, it was like 88 or 90, which if you would have told me in January, I would have said, no way you could have done that because you were shooting 140 at the time. How did you improve from 140 in January to 80 from the tips at TPC Summerlin in 7 months?
Yeah, but you know, like I said, like I just started, like I don't know how many rounds I played before we golfed in January. That was one of the first rounds that I ever played a full round of golf. Like my friend was telling me what clubs to hit. I had no idea about anything. So I had a wrong grip. Everything was, you know, I had no coach and I had someone giving me very poor advices. But yeah, it was, I put a lot of time also. Like I was there every day on the golf course for 6 months straight. For that.
I ran bad there as well, because what happened is that you booked some big bets with Daniel Negreanu and other people, and that gave you the motivation to work. And I was a victim.
Yeah. So basically, the long story was that I had when we had that tennis match set up that date, I had a day after set up a big golf match for like, I don't know, 300,000 or something like that. It was very big money. It was not against Negreanu. It was against was this Finnish guy actually, and I don't remember him and his partner. But anyways, I don't know how, but I managed to get a neck problem. My nerve was so bad on the neck, I could literally not move my head, like a stinger, you know. And I guess I could have just taken some really strong painkiller and played that tennis match, because I really couldn't lose to you in tennis at the time. I could not.
Yeah.
I could not, but my neck, I never had a bad neck like that. Like I was thinking that if I go to play that tennis, I'm gonna lose so much money on the golf next day that I cannot swing anything, because it was so horrific. And so yeah, then we decided it was, I mean, I would have for sure beaten you with this neck too, because I would have taken some ice and painkillers and sucked it up, and I would have beaten. But so we agreed nicely to play that poker instead of we played no limit hold'em freeze out, and you end up beating me on that. So it was kind of funny. We watched the 100K bet, and that golf. But I mean, that golf round was sick. What I played against you on TPC. I don't know if you remember, but I made so many up and downs. Like I was not on the green on almost any hole, but I just chipped and putted in. That was, I just made those up and downs, pars and bogeys all round long.
I was never going to compete with an 80. Let's just say that.
I said 81, right? That was like, I beat my personal best by far that day.
So I want to talk about Australia, because we've spent a lot of time in Australia together, and it's such a fantastic place. People don't realize just quite how much gambling went on there. And you've been there as much as anyone. I've been 5 times, and you've been what, closer to 10 times to Australia?
Yeah, probably like 9 times. Yeah, that was just a dream trip every time for me.
It's hard to beat Australia. So The background is that it would be in January, many poker players would go for a few weeks and they would have Australian Open tennis, and they would also have the Aussie Millions poker tournament. And there would also typically be some big gambling because it was Chinese New Year and it would be a popular time for people to come gamble at the Crown. And the Crown Hotel, oh, we froze for 1 second there.
Yeah, we froze just a bit. Yeah.
The Crown Hotel is as nice as any Vegas hotel. I would say its equal might be the Encore Tower Suites. Otherwise, no hotel in Vegas is as good.
Yeah.
So Australia, the peak years for gambling were probably 2007 through 2012, and then it kind of slowly died down from there. But it was quite a bit of fun for people like ourselves that enjoyed tennis and golf, because you would play poker, you would play tennis and golf and gamble on those things, and then you would watch tennis at the Australian Open and gamble on that. So it was perfect, pretty much. So one golf story that comes to mind, maybe you can help me place the year. I believe the year was 2009, although I have a feeling you'll remember exactly.
Yeah, I think it was that year probably. It was 2009 or 8, one of those years. Yeah.
So there was a time we went out to play golf, and you and I were playing for a social number, not large numbers. And we were with 2 other people that were playing a match, and they were gambling high. And I believe they started out at 10,000 hole, but it could have even been 5,000. And they were playing a game. I don't recollect the game, but the nature of it was that the loser could choose to double the stakes on the next hole if they wanted. So it went from like 10, 20, 40, 80, 160. And then I distinctly remember that things got very tight when they played that hole for 160. And you and I had no skin in the game. We were just sort of watching this.
Yeah.
Or you might have had a little skin. I had no skin. We were watching, and I distinctly remember we were driving from one green to the tee, and they're like kangaroos just off the side of the cart path on the fence. And one of the guys has to decide if he's going to sort of double on the next hole. And you would know better than myself, but I got the impression that it was a large part of his bankroll. He was 100% going to pay. And it was also, it was like he had to decide if he wanted to gamble everything, not everything, but a very large percentage of his net worth on one hole. And he sort of soul searched and decided that he wanted to do it. So the next hole was a par 5 that they were playing for 640K, essentially 320 per man.
Yeah.
And well, your friend, he won that hole, thankfully, but it was closely contested.
Yeah, I was so new to golf. I didn't even realize what was going on. I just realized that they're playing for very big. And it was my friend, my friend playing this guy. Let's not say the names, and it was so dark also on the last hole. I remember that. But yeah, golf can get crazy sometimes when you doubling up and so did they break even actually on the match? I think they broke even.
It was, it might have been a small amount just based on the sort of martingale.
But Australia was, that was almost too good to be true for me. Like everything is just what you described. Like you get to play tennis, you get to watch the best tennis, you get to play golf, poker, high stakes poker. All these televised cash games was so good. I won every single year in Australia quite nicely. And made a lot of deep runs in tournaments also, and it was like a paradise. Also, like I became friends with interesting people. Like a lot of people don't know, but my daughters, they started to play with Roger Federer's kids at the Crown, because we would every year go to the same hotel, and they were staying the other penthouse across my penthouse a couple times, and so they spent some time at this, this indoor pool. So it was the nannies and the wives first, and I had no idea. And then eventually, I knew that they're playing every day and doing things together, and that is Roger's kids. And so then I got to meet Roger also, and hang out with him a little bit. So it was just really nice as a as a tennis fan, as a tennis player, to have just to have it all in one place. Plus, I was always running good and winning there, so it was helped to be like in the good mindset always. And too bad we don't have Aussie Millions now. It was really a dream those days, and hopefully it's gonna get back. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm hoping they make a comeback for sure. The years of Poker After Dark and High Stakes Poker, I believe that the first season of High Stakes Poker was 2005. I believe, yeah,
I think so
late
too,
2005. The season sort of mostly corresponded with the years, right? They would do High Stakes Poker 2 and in 06 and so on. I played, I think, 4 and 5, and you played every
missed the
season of
first
High
season.
Stakes Poker, right?
Hmm?
You played every season of High Stakes Poker, correct?
No, I missed the first season, I'm pretty sure. The first one, but the first one was only these old school players playing, like Doyle, Barry, Greenstein, Negreanu, Gus, Eli Elezra, Sammy Farha, Jennifer Harman. I don't know who else, but it was only like the old school players. I was too new for the game. I was too new.
Yeah, that's
new.
right. It was sort of old school plus Antonio.
Yeah. Yeah, did he play the first season? I guess so, yeah.
And then 2 was when it got dramatically bigger. Is that right?
Well, the second season, I didn't get so much TV time. I didn't play that much that season either, but I got to play, and I won every season on High Stakes Poker, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly. But yeah, season 7, like 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, I don't know, was 11 there. Those were like, they also shot more seasons. They shot more footage, I think. And that's just it's just the funny, like, it's such a legendary show that it's amazing how what kind of a feeling they got for everyone with the cash on the table, and just everything was so perfect, like and it was super fun to play those games. It just, a lot of players came to really play good memories.
Yeah, those were a different time when what you got paid $1,200 an hour to play poker. That was pretty great.
Yeah.
And at the time, obviously Full Tilt was driving a lot of things. It was quite puzzling, I'm sure, for you when Full Tilt went down. That was unexpected. And yeah, obviously the whole online poker industry died in 2011. And it was quite a surprise, the revelations that came on about Full tilt. I'm sure you felt that way. And for you, you were one of the bigger deals, say 2008, 9, and 10, but it never really, it wasn't an amount that moved the needle relative to the other things you had going on in poker. Is that a fair summary?
Now it's so long time ago, but obviously I remember it's still pretty fresh. I don't think about it too often anymore because it's pretty crazy where we were at the moment, and it's more like that. If I think about what happened, I got really hurt financially for different reasons than these other people. Like I did not have a big ownership, for example. I did have a small piece of the company, but some other players or individuals had massive stakes. But I crushed all the games so badly that somehow there was just so many players who owed me crazy amounts of money, like millions. Like I have like more than let's not say the numbers, but there's a lot of people who owe me a lot of money, like couple millions and over millions and over $500,000, and this hurt me, this Full Tilt, that few of the people, they had contracts with Full Tilt and so on, and the games were good. There was just a lot of money in the industry, and unfortunately a lot of these players, they could never recover after Full Tilt went down. So I left a lot of money. I lost a lot of money in this way. I had obviously a big contract for myself, basically a contract that would guarantee that I could never be financially hampered in my life. So that was, it was big change in this way. But when I look at it now, it was just another life experience that I think life would be so different if it would have just been, how would I say? Let's just say I'm thankful that I went through all that, because I feel like I can enjoy my life much more now when you go through some stressful times, tough times, you go through you grow as a person in different ways, and life is not always about just winning and crushing everything. So I feel like I'm much more happier person nowadays because I went through that and those years, and I have to kind of rebuild everything in a way and work hard but it's too bad for poker, because I believe Full Tilt was on their way to take poker to really mainstream and a more popular game. So too bad for that.
Yeah. Well, the economics were not as good as they seem to be, as we know now, with what they were paying for payment processing and overly aggressive distributions and all of that. It was, at the time, it seemed like they were printing money, and that's what was driving the thing. And then they were printing money, but then it was some tougher economics than it seemed behind the scenes. So going back to those sort of poker after dark and high stakes poker years, I got some questions on Twitter. They wanted to know who impressed you most that you played with a lot. And people, of course, are fascinated by Dur, and they want to know what it was like to play with Tom for the first time, because you guys probably didn't battle too extensively online before you started live, or perhaps you did. Maybe you could take us through some of that history.
Yeah, we can talk about Tom first. I don't think we played much at all before the Dur challenge. And I made one mistake on that challenge. I agreed to play 4 tables at once, which I never done in my life. And I didn't even practice that. So the most I played ever heads up was 2 tables at once before. And I could play 4 tables at once if I could play ring games. So there's a lot of time, you know, very rare comes, you know, same time, a big decision and so on. So all the credit to Tom. I mean, he was a tough matchup for me, but I really should have practiced to play 4 tables heads up before playing him. But I was pretty, I guess I could say that I was pretty cocky and arrogant regarding my I had just a massive confidence on my poker that I would beat anyone in anything those days, and that didn't happen. I mean, we did not finish the match actually. And I don't know how much I was down. There's 10,000 hands left to play, but
Was that 09?
I believe so. And it took forever also. Like, we had such a different schedules. I was always in a different time zone than him. Every time I was feeling for playing him, he didn't feel like playing, and vice versa also. So it was very not smooth, never got any kind of rhythm for it. And but that's over. But yeah, I could have done things differently, and for sure I would have played much better if I could have played just 2 tables, for example, at once. So that, let's just say, that's my excuse of losing, that I couldn't handle 4 tables at once. I was too many times pressured by the time, and yeah, my brain was not, and it's still not able to handle that many tables, because I don't play. I play with my feel. I have a different way of playing than these online players. Like, I know that Tom can probably play 12 tables at once. He's from the online world in that way. But let's just say the toughest players that I ever played, whoever impressed me the most was obviously Phil Ivy, and Isildur impressed me a lot, but also, like, he had a lot of days when he was not playing his best. So, but when he would play his best, he was one of the most dangerous I've ever played, if not the most dangerous. But it's many times in the case that when someone has such an AA game that is just superior, it seems like that they can't keep that up usually. Like, it's better to just always have your kind of an A game on, but never like something that is, it's like if you can split A game to AA and AAA game, like, just have that A game always, not AAA game, because when the AAA game doesn't go well, you beat off. It's tough. Like, he was playing so aggressively and making such a thin big value bets and calls, and he was making it very messy sometimes. But yeah, Isildur and Ivy, I would say, what I have seen, that they have impressed me the most. I think Phil Galfond always seems to play solid. I didn't play too much with him. I think I almost, like, regarding heads up, I didn't play with him much at all. More like ring games and but that's about it. I would say that Tom was maybe the worst matchup for me. He would just let me bluff too much to him. Like, he had a completely different style than others, and I had tough time adjusting to his play. Like, I've always done really well against players that play very aggressively and they're betting a lot, but he would just check back a lot of big hands, and he would just play small pots against me, and I would end up kind of forcing the action eventually against Tom those days. That's what happened with him and I in in too many hands in that challenge, for example.
Well, you mentioned Ivy, and I know that he's one of the people that you chat poker with the most these days. How long has that relationship been going where you've chatted a bunch of hands? And as it relates to the DUR challenge, it's interesting that you have mostly been a lone wolf in terms of your studying and playing. And there was a group of players that were living together and talking frequently, and they sort of excelled together. It was Galfond, Benefield, the Deng brothers, and Durr, and they were able to study together, and there was a rapid progression, I think, that happened, say, in 2007 and 2008 when they were interacting. So maybe Tom developed his game quite a lot during those years. But how has the relationship with Ivy helped you learn poker, and who else are you chatting a lot of poker with?
He's maybe the only one that I chat about poker, but we don't really analyze some particular hands too much. I mean, once in a while, he asks me something, or I ask him something about some particular hand. I would say that with Phil, I think we think very similar about a lot of things in poker, and we both have the same thing, kind of, that you are your worst enemy yourself. That, like, he's focusing on himself, I'm focusing on myself. That's kind of only thing that matters. That as long as I'm playing good poker, I'm gonna do fine. And if there's any other factors that is affecting, like if I'm not sleeping well, or there's outside factors, so many things that can affect. Like, those are more important things, that it almost doesn't really matter, like, who you are playing. Like, I played such a good games with a lot of fish whales, and with very bad records. If I'm just not feeling good, and I hear there's a big game with with just a great game, and I go to play, but I'm just not feeling it, and I don't prepare to play. So I'm playing when it's not my time to play, when I'm kind of forced to play, that okay, now you gotta play because the game is so good. I never did so well on those games, pretty bad, and surprisingly, I feel like I made all my money in the toughest games. That you put the toughest lineup there, those are the games that I have my biggest wins, pretty much. So it's been always like a battle that just play when you feel like it, play when you're feeling good, and it doesn't matter who you play against, you're gonna do well. So I've had this kind of approach more than looking at who am I playing with. But we think very likely about hands with Phil. Very same way. We don't have that kind of mathematical mind for poker. It goes more like deeper, that psychology regarding the other players, and so on. And I really enjoy chatting with him. Like, I respect his opinions in everything, and there's a lot of players that I would say there has been, when I was younger, there were a lot of players that they try to discuss poker with me, and every time someone was trying to influence my thought process on some hands, or how to play some hand, or had a different opinion of mine, that would only hurt me. Like, I hated when somebody would put some kind of thoughts in my mind about, no, you should play this hand in this way. Like, three bet there and then just check back or whatever they would say, or like go with bigger sizing because of this, or no, like whatever, just the different opinions. I would always feel like that those discussions were very harmful for my poker. Like if they were able to influence my thoughts of it, that would just bother, that would just not be good. I would end up doing at some point in those situations something in the hand that it was not fully thought through by me. Like I would really choose not to be anyhow influenced or thought by anyone at any point. I would just always wanna stick with my own thought process. And in general, like it's a bit dangerous to be coached by someone with poker, because you're the one playing and you're the one who's gonna make the decisions based on the players who you're playing with in pretty quick time, and all the time you're gonna be pushed in different situations. Poker is a very complex game, so if you like kind of programmed by someone, like you're gonna be quite lost on the situations where you have to, where you have to, you need to make conclusions pretty quickly yourself. So I really liked my way of learning to play poker, that nobody ever taught me a thing. I never read a book, never watched any videos. Okay, I paid some money when I learned new games, losing a little bit in the beginning and so on, but at least I learned it myself. I figure it all out instead of someone telling me. Imagine if someone tells you something which is kind of false information, how much is that gonna damage you in the way? But it's my way, and I don't think it's so beneficial to discuss with other players. You can use the same time as you discuss with them of analyzing yourself. You can analyze the hand in multiple different ways of okay, what would happen, what if I would go smaller sizing here, and what happens on these turns and these rivers and this player, and how can maybe I can win the hand with bluffing if I go bigger sizing representing this and all this. You can go through all that by yourself, I think, but people just like to be social and discuss with other players. And okay, sometimes you have questions yourself where you've been just trying to figure out some spots that, well, what is the right play? Some usually obviously very close situations, and then you want to ask someone that, hey, what would you do here that I just don't know? Like I just want to hear what would you think? But I never had really that with anyone, and I believe it's been good for me. But everyone learns in different way. We're all different. We play different. We work differently. It's a beauty of being a human.
Yeah, and for you, the cost of taking on a new approach is that you're throwing away your whole experience base. So coaching is more valuable for a newer, younger player because they don't have that experience base built up. For instance, if you take a hand that your whole life you've played by calling in a certain spot, and now you 3-bet, let's just say it's a blind situation where you would call the hand and now you're 3-betting it and checking a certain character of flops. You're now throwing away your whole previous experience base, which has a cost to it. So what do you think are the biggest strengths of your poker minds? From my perspective, from the outside, it seems to be cool under pressure. It seems to be that in the big spots, you're still thinking very clearly. And I believe you and Ivy share that characteristic. I would also say that both of you are known for reading other players well. And that again comes down to being cool under pressure when the other person perhaps is not cool under pressure and their adrenaline system is giving something away. Would you agree that that cool under pressure has been perhaps the biggest distinguishing characteristic for you?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think that my like as a poker player, I'm meant to play high stakes cash games. For a couple reasons, exactly like it just seems like that the bigger I play, the better I play. There's something that wakes up that intensity that you know, I have a full motivation. So yeah, like I've also felt some pressure sometimes, obviously, like everyone sometimes does, like we don't always have the best days. So I know how it feels when physically not feeling great and mentally, like you cannot always have a very clear day. So then it's just more difficult, and you feels like you're in a difficult spots more, and also like all of us, we get tested sometimes when we are on a losing streak or when we are losing in the session. So there's a lot of things that you need to be really, you need to toughen up. Like you can't dwell in the past, and you just gotta live in the present moment. But yeah, that's reading ability and handling pressure and making those big pressure decisions. You cannot second question yourself. Like you really, you know, you just have to make the plays that feels right for you. And yeah, those, I mean, poker at the end of the day, I mean, poker is small things make a massive difference, and it's those differences that if you can read someone well, or if you can, like in high stakes poker, high stakes cash games, I think one of the most important skills is also like understanding everyone's comfort zones in all the different situations, that who's comfortable of bluffing in certain spots and how big, and kind of getting those down. Like there's just some guys who will never throw a 70K bluff, check raise bluff, or so on, and just understanding all that. And many times if you're good at feeling players out or reading them, you just feel that there's something is not right when they're bluffing. Like there's some energy that you just feel it. It's unexplainable things in a way that you just have that feel. It's not even that, you cannot even tell that what was the read. It's more about the whole combo, what happened in the hand. It could have been something small that happened pre-flop, that your opponent didn't look strong, he looked weak, or he looked strong, like that it influenced your read in the hand. And then he was nervous on the turn, but he was not nervous on the river. Like what was that? Why was he nervous? So you can use all these kind of tells to narrow some hands down. And the betting sizes, if they make a kind of a mistake on the betting sizes regarding representing some hands, those are big factors. And so yeah, it's cool under pressure, definitely. And I would say one thing, like I have that I never lacked confidence on myself. Like I always trusted myself. And I know that there's a lot of players that who are sometimes lacking confidence. And if you're lacking confidence, you're not confident on your plays, on your bets, calls, whatever it is, I would just imagine that it's pretty difficult game to play. And And that's been one of the key factors for me. Also, like when I've had some pretty bad losing streaks also. I lost 4 million straight once, and I bounced back next 3 months winning like 5 million. But it was a lot of losing sessions in those 2-3 months when I lost the 4 million. And if I would have been crushed, if my confidence would have been crushed and so on, like some players might not never recover after, periods like this, for example. So it's just trusting myself always has been a big factor.
Football fans, join the next generation of fantasy football with Rainmakers Football, the first ever NFT fantasy game from DraftKings. It's the only NFT fantasy game licensed by the NFL Players Association. You can play all season for millions in prizes by building the ultimate NFT franchise. Playing Rainmakers is simple. Buy, sell, bid, and win player card NFTs of the biggest names in the game through regular drops and auctions on DraftKings Marketplace. Build your NFT franchise and enter free Rainmakers football contests all season long. You'll be competing for almost $30 million in prizes. Download the DraftKings Fantasy app and sign up with the promo code ADAMS. Click the Rainmakers tile and opt in to get your first card free. You will then be playing for millions in prizes all football season while building the ultimate NFT franchise. That's promo code ADAMS. Build, play, and win only at DraftKings.
So in terms of hard moments in your poker career, the 4 million downswing, what are some of the other very high pressure moments that you've had? I recall watching just a few years ago, really, the 10K, 20K game at Bellagio, which was quite a high pressured affair. Maybe you could take us back to that day or those weeks, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, that was the mixed game, but yeah, pretty big game. One player lost 3 million in, I think, 1.5 hours, 2 hours. I think 2 hours and call it a day, but those are big pots. I wouldn't feel pressure in the same way in those games, because mixed games seems to play, like there's no crazy big decisions in those games unless it's a big bet game, no limit, or PLO, or deuce to 7, no limit. So this was limit games a lot. But once you're playing some very big game where you have millions on the table and you have to make some massive calls or bluffs, there's some really real pressure on those games. And I would say we all have our breaking point. We all have our comfort zone, and I haven't been tested like that I would have to play for like a massive percentage of my bankroll and try to play my best. Like I never got tested like that. And we'll see. But like I said, we're all different. Like I personally don't think I'm playing great poker when I'm playing smaller stakes. I'm just lacking that kind of intensity in the game. I've been trying to motivate myself to like play with intensity, but it's just not the same when you're playing really high stakes. Even billionaires, like they feel the money because they feel the value of money. When you are dealing with the bet sizes that is 100K or 50K or 200K, like they know that is real money. It's not just, it's just that it just changes. It just changes a lot of things because we get to players' comfort zones big time on those stakes. And it's just another skill, I think, that comes to play.
Speaking of high pressure games, high stakes games, as much as you loved your Australia experience over the years, Macau was not the best spot for you. Can you tell us about some of your Macau experiences? Not to say it was terrible in terms of results, but you never really enjoyed Macau.
Yeah, Macau was very tough place for me. I have to say that I had my biggest win in Macau what I've ever had, and that was I think it was close to a 40-hour session too. So that was, I have some good memories, but those days when I played in Macau, I really didn't enjoy any cigarettes, and players could smoke on the table, and we would play long sessions. And I always felt like I was pressured to play really long sessions, like we're talking about. Average session felt like it was 20 hours, always around the clock. I couldn't get type of food that I would want. I always had a pretty nice routine regarding like training, doing sports. I was always feeling good. So they kind of put me out of my comfort zone regarding all that stuff. Like, okay, I'm okay to play a long session, but then cigarettes and not having great food and also like I didn't get to play ever like those great games. I always I was pretty low, pretty far on the list that who they call if somebody is not there. So I couldn't play certain games. I never got to play with the biggest VIP players there, and it was a tough place to be when you're there like 1 month or 2 months, and I just didn't enjoy living there in the same way as I would have rather been in Vegas or somewhere else where I feel like I have a better quality life. And that influenced, I think, a bit. And then I did run pretty bad there. I also lost, I guess I lost the largest putt I've lost ever over there, which I'm still thinking of it as it could have been something. There could have been something that was not right on that hand, because a lot of things doesn't make sense in the hand. It was one of those kind of crazy setup hands that I can just tell the hand here, but I can just tell the hand here. Nobody has probably heard that publicly, but we were playing a game, I guess Macau dollars. Forget about the blinds. I don't know if I get them right. 10K, 20K, or 20K, 40K Hong Kong dollars. But there was one good player who was a tight player, winning in the table around 9 million. He was up or something Hong Kong dollars, and I was up about 9 million also. So I had 10 million on the table, and he had 9 million or so on. So at the time, what US dollar was, what, 7-8 million?
Yeah.
7-8 million, something like that. So everyone else was pretty shallow in the game. They had between 1 to 3 million on the table, and I had 9. I had about 9 million with this player. So this hand happened. I can tell Paul Pua was in the hand. He raised, and I was behind him. I called with pocket 8s, and the whole table pretty much called. I think there was 6 players or so on, 7 players on the flop. And this player was on the big blind, this Asian player, and he called, and the flop came 9-8 deuce or 9-8-3 or 9-8-4, one of those hands, a rainbow. So I flopped a middle set, and the original raiser, he bet the flop, and I decided to call behind him with my middle set, just because the game was playing pretty crazy. This was a really extremely good game. There were, I think, 3-4 VIPs who could do a lot of things randomly at any time. So I would, there was already in the pot, I think the race was 100,000 pre, I'm pretty sure. I'm not gonna, this is so long time ago, I'm not gonna get the betting sizes right, but let's just stick with the basics. So there was a race, and the whole table pretty much called, and the flop came 8-9-3 rainbow. Original better bet quite big on the flop. I called. I think everyone almost called behind me. And now it comes to this player on the big blind who is winning 9 million in the game, and he's the tightest guy on the table, like tightest player. I played a lot with him. I never saw him do anything that would be gambling, kind of. Like he was just a tight, solid player. And now he's out of position against like 5 or 6 players who call the flop. And he's winning in this game. And he decided to put a raise in on this flop. And he has 7-10. He has open and straight draw with 1 over card. And there's no flush draw on the flop. So, and this raise sizing was such a sizing that if one of these, there were a lot of players who had 2-3 million behind. If they decide to go all in after, I don't even know if he's able to call after that. Like he would just put himself in the very awkward spot with stack sizing and so on. So I had a position on him. Let's just move it from there. So I called his raise, and I was still, I had the same thing that maybe one of these VIPs behind me would shove, but nobody called after I called the raise.
Just for clarification, you were probably wrong on the pre-flop sizing, right? Because originally you said 100 per man. That pre-flop is probably wrong, right? The pre-flops.
It's probably wrong. The flop size was 100, I think, the bet.
Okay, got it.
I'm pretty sure. I'm not gonna go with the sizing because I cannot remember them correctly. But I remember that we got it all in on the turn. The turn was a 6. He bets the turn, and there was a lot of money in the pot. And I raised him on a turn. Of course, I was aware that he could have top set of 9s. But if he has that, there's, once the 6 came on a turn, and there was just so many action killer cards on the river that can kill the action. And so he bets the turn, and I raise him, and he goes all in for the rest. I'm pot committed. Even if I see his hand, I cannot fold my hand. So it was that was about 2.5, 2.6 million. No, I mean, what am I saying? It was, forget about what I said. The whole pot size ended up being 18, 19 million Hong Kong dollars. So it was like 2.5, $2.6 million, the pot. And there was a lot of this insurance buying at the time. They would charge commission for it, but I cannot even buy an insurance because I don't have the best hand. When he had the straight, he turned the straight on a turn. But that hand I lost, and I've been thinking of that because I really played a lot with this player, and I still can't believe that he would make a play like that in that type of situation. But that got me questioning the game for a moment, and which is never good. If you don't trust the game, it's pretty hard to play your best. And then I end up getting like 6 setups. That same trip, I ended up breaking even for the whole trip. I was there for 2 months, but I got kings against aces. I got queens against aces. I lost with aces, and the guy flopped a set, and I made all my big hands pretty much lost. Like after that, like I just started to like kind of be spooked out that how is it, like how often you just I lost with all my big hands, but I still somehow end up scrambling and breaking even for the whole trip. But Macau was tough. It was a tough place.
Not a healthy place.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of messed me up to play so many long sessions that there was no schedule. There were no schedule. You would just play 20 hours or 24 hours or 30 hours, and then you would sleep. You sleep 14 hours or 16 hours, and then, okay, another game next day or 2 days later, another 24 hours. And it's just, that messes up your body, your hormone balances, everything. Like it's just, I don't know what is worse for a body, but that's really just, it was not for me. Like, I can do it for a while, but to do it, and these players, they would do it like really, I mean, you live there, try to do that for a couple of years straight and see how you're feeling.
Speaking
yeah,
of
that was,
health, I know we're under a time constraint. I'll be quick. You went through a period. Well, we went through this period at around the same time where we were both trying to learn as much as possible about health. And you took it to such an extreme that you had a doctor who either had been or was at the time the personal doctor for Peter Thiel. And it was very, very expensive medicine. I believe, I don't know, 50,000 a year or something insane. Can you tell us about some of your experiments on health? And by the way, when I was reflecting on fun prop bets that we've had over the years, there's one prop bet that I'm so happy that I didn't take on. Not to say that I was tempted, but I remember on multiple occasions you begged me to do a boxing prop.
yeah.
I'm just so happy that we've never done that. I was never tempted like you were. I was never going to do it. But I'm just really, I'm happy that we haven't boxed.
I'm happy we didn't box either.
By the way, do you want to box anyone? Like, is there anyone that you would like to challenge to a boxing prop?
No, I'm done boxing. I did my fair amount of sparring in boxing and training, and I don't like, I'm too old for those headaches after you spar. Yeah, it was fun when I was in my 20s or early 30s. And I did make $1 million boxing bet for 1 year later, which kind of screwed me up that I had to really train a lot. I gave the guy 10-1 because I thought he had no chance, and he ended up actually buying out. He never even wanted to step in the ring because I was a beast then. that was on my peak. But yeah, and I think actually looking back, anyone who listens this who's like wants to make prop bets or future bets, I would say it's only has been bothering me if I make a bet that happens, I don't know, 6 months later, 1 year later, or 3 months later. Like, make a rather bet that, okay, let's play tennis or let's play golf or let's box or let's run, whatever, a couple weeks from now or 1 month from now. So you don't have to dedicate your schedule for 6 months or 1 year. Like, I end up losing money just, putting a lot of energy on those as a thought of trying to improve. And yeah, those were not the nicest things, like especially this boxing. But I'm happy we didn't box. We didn't box.
That wouldn't have gone well for me.
Yeah. Well,
so of all of the betting experiences that we've had, I want you to share your favorite. I'll share my favorite, and then you can share your favorite. You want my favorite first, or do you want to give your favorite?
Or when you and I gambled.
Yeah. Just like just on fun stuff. But so I can give mine first if you want.
Well, I had incredibly fun time when we played golf that first year.
The first year when you were improving and your pricing went down.
I was playing incredibly well against you, and I was always good under the pressure, and you were choking, and I just had a lot of laughs. Like, when I think about it, because I got crushed in golf from a lot of players, and I feel like I got cheated in the way that a lot of people have been dishonest, like just lying to my face, which is, according to them, part of the game, that you can say whatever you're shooting and you can however manipulate the game in your favor. That's apparently like the gambling of golf. But I was always honest with everyone what I've been playing and shooting, and I thought it was like that, but it apparently wasn't. And not gonna say names, but I got fucked fucked on a golf course in USA big time. I enjoyed those tennis matches against you, and I have to say there were like a couple of interesting ones. That the first match that we played, where we played just a money line bet, and I led you 10-1 and 15-1 and so on. Like a lot of players, a lot of people don't know what happened before that match, because that was another bet that what we made it like 6 months before or something like that, right?
9 months before.
9 months before. So I twisted 3 ligaments on my ankle like 4 weeks or 3 weeks before that match. I was in crutches in Europe for 8 days. It was so bad. It was so bad. 2 weeks before the match, my ankle was like a ball. I couldn't even walk properly. And I did the most incredible rehab in Vegas with my trainer. I was in my pool a couple of times a day with medicine ball, walking, and I did every possible thing. And I practiced with you. You didn't know any of this stuff, but I practiced with you first time. I couldn't hit a ball for 1 month. And I practiced with you. You knew that I had an ankle problem, because when we practiced 5 days before our match, we went to hit some balls. And I was hiding it, that I'm not moving much. But I ended up creating an arm problem because of that, because suddenly I'm not pushing from my leg at all. I couldn't push. So I'm hitting with different technique, and I was using my arm. So my arm started to hurt first time, like pain on the shoulder and here. And then when we played the match, like you just managed to, I have to tell you, but you had a very big chance of winning that day. If you would have played a good match, you would have won that day, because I was physically so messed up. That second set, because first of all, you played so bad that you couldn't move me around that day. You would just miss so much, and you would hit the ball in the middle, and I would just guide the ball to the corners, and we played short points. And because I had nothing to push from my left ankle, it was still so bad that day when we played. So I started to feel my back like so bad in the second set that I was sitting on my pants, that, you know, fuck, if this back is gonna give up now. like it's just, I was so lucky that we didn't play any long rallies, and you didn't see anything. Like I was hiding it the best I could, and I was trying to just, you know, finish the points quickly and so on. But I was so messed up that day on the second set. I couldn't move. My arm was killing me, and my back started to hurt so much because of, you know, you're using your back when you cannot use your leg. You're using completely different muscles that you normally used to use. And it's just, thank God, like you played the worst that I've ever seen you play that day. That day, and I didn't even play well, but it could have really been a different story if you would have made me move. And I don't know if I could have never played a 3-setter probably with my back that day, after it started to really hurt and be bad. But that's just another like lesson for someone, that if you're laying big odds to someone in some sports or something that you're better at them, there's like, we're not professional athletes. There's a lot of injuries can happen, and once you set up a date, you make sure that there's like some things that if you're sick or injured, you can move the date for a little bit more or something like that. Like I could have lost the bet just because, what if I twist my ankle 1 week later, for example, before the match, and but that's those are like good memories for me. It's just personal memories.
Well, that match, that was like me getting back into tennis. So I wasn't good. Like I played almost never when I lived in Boston. So that match was me thinking that, okay, if I have 9 months getting 10-1, I can sort of get some game back, but then I was able to get game back in practice. In match, no. But it did inspire me to start playing serious tennis after that. My favorite memory is during that time where you started out, I think, getting plus 150 a hole. And then by the end of the summer, you were like minus 150 a hole.
Yeah.
Because you would just sort of win each and every time. My favorite story was, if you recall, there was one instance where I got back most of the money that I lost, which was when we played at Summerlin, and then we decided that we wanted to keep playing. So we went to the par 3 course and they were closing. So we paid them to put open for a couple of hours. And then I played out of my mind on the par 3 course. That was my favorite.
Yeah, I remember that course. Yeah. Yeah.
So on the health side, what are some of the lessons that you've learned from your health experiments? We both work hard for old guys, right? So like what keeps you motivated now, and what are some lessons that you have?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I could talk 1 hour straight or even more about this. Like I've learned a lot, I believe, at least from my opinion, but I have to say that, you know, I was pretty good junior at tennis, playing tennis, and I got really lucky that I ended up having problems at age 19. I got injured a couple of times that put me back, and then poker was just a perfect replacement for my competitiveness, and it started to go well. Like, really enjoyed that. But on my 20s, I mean, I played so much poker, so much sitting, playing. I was really ignoring my health, even though I always looked healthy, and everybody, even in the poker world, always looked up to me that I'm the fit and healthy guy, and I was the guy playing the most sessions in Bellagio around the clock. I was really physically sacrificing my body for poker, for playing so much and sitting, and I was also eating anything. I was consuming any type of foods. I didn't have anything regarding that, and but eventually I started to get a lot of health issues, and how I found out about that was because of sports. My condition was not improving, even if I was training a lot, and I knew that there was something wrong with me, and I ended up doing all the possible tests, everything, because, you know, I could go play tennis or do some other training, and suddenly, like, I'm not recovering, and I'm 250 pounds and so on. Like, there was clearly some issues, but I found out that I was really highly intolerant for gluten, and that really changed my life. And I've been now gluten-free for 11 years. And those kind of fatigue syndromes that I had, and those kind of crazy lactic acid, like, my body I was really messed up many times, and just out of condition. Like, sometimes I was tired after 5 minutes of training, and made no sense when I was, you know, last week exercise, everything was fine, and so on. But health is, I think, I mean, health is, should be the most important thing for anyone, and we don't really prioritize that. We're more like used to living in the way that, you know, once you have a health problem, then you know, you're willing to do a lot of things, but people don't really prevent and optimizing your health. So I got really interested on health after I had those issues, and when I started to work with some smart people with that, and I saw all the results. Like, I had, even my thyroid was underworking, and I had, my hormone balances were pretty much bad off. And, you know, like, I didn't know anything what I was doing regarding just my health. And I would say the last 10 years, I've gone through that kind of, I got interested on just what is really healthy and how, you know, what works, what doesn't work. And fasting has been pretty interesting for me in health wise. There's a lot of science now behind it, and why fasting is not promoted, because nobody makes money out of it. But it's pretty interesting what happens in the body when you don't put any calories, nothing. Like, you go just with water for a long time, you start producing certain hormones, crazy amounts, and your body starts to kind of heal itself. So I think I would say that if you want to have the best health insurance for yourself, like what you should do, like you should go once a year, 1 week with only water, and that would just kill a lot of shit and reset your body. But also fasting is pretty difficult for me because I burn a lot of calories. I'm very active. Like, I've done a lot of intermittent fasting, but I do it very randomly. I do it a lot when I travel, or when I just, someday I might just feel like, okay, I need a break on my digestive system, and I go all day without eating sometimes. And I eat a lot of food. People are terrified when they see what I eat. You can see on TV table poker, I'm always eating. But
In the bills at Siddell's.
huh?
Yeah, it's three breakfasts for one person.
But training, if you know, training, like exercising people, I think people see exercising as okay, you're unfit or fit as a person, but it really should be that you're healthy or unhealthy. Like, if you list all the smart people who know health in and out, they would list top 10 things that what are the most, has the biggest impact on one's health. They would list first is 3 different training. It's just magic happens when you do training. It's just it's miracle effects. So training and sleeping well, a lot of miraculous things happens when you sleep. And the last one is tough. That live a no stress life. Like, no stress. Stress, it's amazing how we can kill ourselves with only our thoughts. So, like, it's good to understand that every time you have a worrying and stressful thought, you are harming your body. You're literally killing yourself. So like those things I've learned, that try to not stress. Like, in everybody, sometimes, you know, we deal with things that you might hit a little bit stress, but that's really harmful. And I personally believe in the thing that you know, if you just take care of your brain, you're always learning new things. And also there's, you know, once you're eating good nutrition, so your brain will say thank you and it will produce all the things, hormones. I mean, it's controlling everything. Take care of your brain, and then you stay young and healthy. Poker is a nice game to do that. Play a lot of poker, study poker, learn languages, learn new things, just new things. So those are my things to my wise advices for anyone. But it's really like, I'm surprised how little people care about their health in general. And then you see people nowadays that, let's not even talk about this COVID stuff. Is like, you know, you could really see how people lost their minds. Like, when we're talking about,
you might already be canceled for
like,
10 hand. So let's not get you canceled.
when we're talking about like real health, people have no idea what is real health. Like real health is not protecting you with masks and stuff. Real health is making good life choices, that you have a strong immune system, and you know, it's all that, and you'll be fine. It's not, once you start to live in the fear, protecting yourself, being worried about things, you're gonna go downhill from there.
Pat, I'm not going to take any more of your time, but before I go, give us 2 minutes about First Land of Poker.
Yeah, just briefly what we have with First Land of Poker. We have an application where you can connect to other players with same interest. So basically, players, you have your geolocation, you have your game preferences, you have your favorite casinos. So we're gonna connect you with other players who wanna play the same games in same places where you wanna play. Also, this application is in interacting with another tool that poker rooms are using. So you are able to see all the running games, what is happening in the poker rooms that they're using our cloud-based tool. So basically just making it as easy as possible for players to get to the games. Just, you can join interest list for waiting list, you can join a seat, you can create your own game, invite other players, you can do all that stuff. You don't have to be physically in the poker room and drive there and wait if there's a full game, or if there's no game and you try to get a game. You don't need to be physically in the poker room and they call your name when you're on the waiting list. So we're solving all these issues. And this is one of the most complicated process for a poker player, time consuming. One of the most time consuming thing is, once you want to play poker, a game that you want to play, that the process from there, that you're gonna be in a table playing with chips in front of you and you're happy. So unfortunately, the live poker industry is very, how would I say, archaic. Like only very old existing tools are there right now, what they are using. And I hope we can make a big impact everywhere. And in this way, there's going to be more players playing poker because it's more enjoyable. You get better service. So in this way, we can elevate the standards of this industry also. And yeah, just download First Land of Poker and put your game preferences there. And hopefully you're going to see really soon lots of poker rooms starting to use us, and we're going to go from there. So also you can learn poker with First Land of Poker. We have our e-learning platform, Flop GTO, so you can check it out. All the pre-flop solutions for cash games and tournaments, and there will be post-flop solutions also. But basically, we have the most sophisticated tool for the poker rooms and for the players. You can also share in our application your poker experience. You can post, you can have real-time news, you have a chat between players, you have notification, so all this stuff. So it's something that I'm really looking forward, and I hope that everyone is looking forward, because we're gonna have good games everywhere and more, and everybody's saving time. Time is very valuable for all of us.
I love it. Pat, thanks so much for joining me on the pod.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah.